Welcome to a new short series where I talk about the different stock loadouts that exist in Destiny 2 and how well they perform. For this series, the definition of a stock loadout will be any kinetic, energy, and power weapon pairing that any account can get with reasonable RNG. For clarity, I'll give you two examples, the first being the Rng Heavy Loadout. Let's say I'm using my perfectly god-rolled Antiope D, a perfect god-rolled Tatara Gaze, and a Black Talon exotic sword. To get even one of those weapons, let alone all three, the stars pretty much have to align. Now, the example of a stock loadout is what you see on screen. The Rose lightweight hand cannon, the Mindbender's Ambition curated shotgun, and the Truth exotic rocket launcher. As you can probably guess, the beauty of these stock loadouts is that any account can acquire these. For example, if you wanted this exact loadout, you would do the following. You would first complete the Lumina questline until you unlock the upgraded Rose. Then, you would wait for the Nightfall Strike to be the hollowed layer and farm it until you get an adequate roll, or specifically, this curated roll, and now you have a Mindbender's. Next, you do the Truth questline, and now you have that exotic rocket. Specifically for this series, I'll be exclusively playing a Hunter because it's the most basic FPS-like class. For instance, if somebody is used to a different first-person shooter and you throw them on a Hunter, they'll pretty much understand what's going on. But you throw them on a Warlock or a Titan, and they don't know exactly what to do. So ideally, this series should be heavily beneficial to people who have just started getting back into Destiny 2 and want to know some good loadouts and how to obtain them, and most of all, how to guarantee that you have adequate equipment. So let's meet the components of our stock loadout. The first is going to be the Kinetic Rose lightweight hand cannon, which shoots at 150 RPM. What you'll immediately notice about this hand cannon is that there's no standout features. Nothing is really too spectacular on this, but to me, that's exactly why this is spectacular. I consider it Old Faithful. It's adequately good at most jobs. As for the mod slot, you can put on pretty much anything you want, but I recommend Icarus because in-air plays are the best. Now, Mindbender's Ambition is an aggressive shotgun that features the unique perk pairing of Opening Shot and Rampage, though it does have the balancing factor of steady rounds, which does reduce the range. However, it is a super consistent aggressive shotgun with an RPM of 55. Finally, in the power slot, the Truth exotic rocket launcher has tripod, so if you pull rockets off the wall, you get 3 of them, they track, and they proximity detonate. It's one of the best powers in the game. Now, when putting all 3 components together, the Rose, the Mindbenders, and the Truth, you get a very aggressive loadout. You have the Rose for dueling, the Mindbenders when people get a little bit too close, and if you're lucky enough to pull power off the wall, one of the best power weapons in the game. I elected to pair this with Arcstrider, specifically Bottom Tree, and the Frosty exotic boots so that I can always have my dodge and nade up as much as I possibly can. When you pair this with the aggressive nature of this loadout combination, it does exactly that. You can rush people down, and if you overextend slightly too much, well, you have a dodge that prevents a lot of damage, so you can get out and reassess the situation. But if things go well, you have an arc bolt to chain damage to multiple people, or to clean up a fleeing target. Also very much quite like the Arcstrider Super because the combination attacks that it allows. For example, if you do a light attack, then a light attack, then a heavy attack in quick succession, you let out a palm strike on that third attack that absolutely annihilates anything within its very forgiving radius. Overall, using this loadout well leaves the user with very little room to make excuses because the equipment is more than adequate. It's not like you're using white weapons and green weapons. These are all fine. They do the job. But, of course, there are upgrades to this loadout. For example, if you wanted to upgrade the hand cannon, you would go for the Spare Rations hand cannon, which is obtained from playing Gambit or Reckoning, 2 activities which aren't the most fun in the current state of balancing, let alone the debilitating RNG that comes with getting the hand cannon in the first place and getting an adequate or perfect roll. To me, a perfect roll would be ricochet rounds, full bore for range, and a range masterwork. That's the trifecta. Then I would go with Snapshot for perk 1, and for perk 2, it's a toss-up between Rangefinder, Swashbuckler, and Multi-Kill Clip. If you wanted to upgrade the shotgun, you could either go with a better roll of the Mindbender's Ambition, which is going to contain Quick Draw or Snapshot or some combination of the both, with the most range you can possibly get, or the fastest rate of fire you can possibly get. Or you could go with a different shotgun entirely, like Gambit's Last Man Standing, which can have opening shot and a unique perk called 1-2 Punch. But I'm not going to get into that because the RNG required to get that is kind of ridiculous. I've been grinding it very consistently and still haven't seen anything even close to it. And that covers the possible upgrades for this loadout. I don't think you're going to find something better than Truth, but of course you could maybe argue that there's a reason to use something like Black Talon over Truth, or maybe you want to cancel supers and you want a Tractor Cannon. I don't know. There's an exotic power weapon for a lot of different scenarios, but I think Truth is a safe bet for most of them. At the end of every video in this series, the stock loadout series, I'll of course compare previous stock loadouts to the current one I'm talking about. But since this is the first video, I'm just going to tell you ahead of time that this one ranks somewhere in the middle. You would have a lot of fun playing a private match with all your friends using this same loadout, maybe minus Truth, just have them throw on a green rocket or something like that. But compared to some of the other stock loadouts that exist, like I'll spoil a couple, Mountaintop Recluse, Last Word, Tatara Gaze, I don't think you'll beat those loadouts. But this falls somewhere in the middle. It's fun, you can't really make excuses about poor play, and you could just focus on getting better. You don't have to worry about your equipment as much. As it stands right now for this series, I have a lot of background footage saved with multiple stock loadouts, but definitely let me know in the comment section what some stock loadouts that you're enjoying and that you maybe think are powerful or at the very least fun in some sort of way, and explain why and how to get them in the comment section, and maybe you'll see one featured in a future iteration of this series. I got a couple more closing notes, so just real quick, if you have a friend who's new to Destiny, maybe nudge them towards a couple of these videos because these should be really helpful for building a stock loadout that you can take into PvP and have a good time. The next thing I want to mention is that this is a brand new microphone. I know, I'm super excited. This has made the whole process of editing so much easier because I don't have to sweeten the audio and pick out any little disturbance in the audio feed. I just can talk into a microphone. It's nice. Not to mention the quality from what I'm hearing on playback is phenomenal. I feel like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman. It's a terrible impression, but you understand what I'm getting at. Basically, that means a lot more videos coming down the pipeline because my workflow is improved and I can now do ASMR. But no, really, I can just edit videos a little bit easier, and that means more videos. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for checking out my channel.